Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I've been better, honestly. A couple days ago, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw that Adam Silvera posted a cover reveal for The First to Die at the End, which is the prequel to They Both Die at the End. Apparently he announced it a while ago, but I didn't follow him on Instagram at the time, so I didn't see it until a couple days ago, but I freaked out. I am so excited about it. My biggest flex is that I read They Both Die at the End before it got all like popular on Book Talk. I remember when I first read it, it was in like the new releases section of like my local library. And it was like propped up like facing out on the shelf so you could like see the cover and everything, and I was like, oh my god, this looks so fun. And then I picked it up, I read it, I sobbed my eyes out, loved it, recommended it to everyone for the next 5 years, and then joined Book Talk and saw that all of a sudden everyone was like, oh my god, this is the best book ever, blah, blah, blah. So this book is very special to me. It was the first book I ever read where, spoiler alert, the main characters die. I believe it was the first book I ever read that made me like truly cry. And it was also the first book that I ever read with any gay main characters. It just holds a very special place in my heart, and I remember absolutely sobbing my eyes out upon finishing this book I must have been like 11 years old at the time, maybe 12. And I just remember like breaking down afterwards. And so since then, especially now that I've seen it become super popular, I kind of vowed to myself that I would never read it ever again because I have all of these amazing memories of it in my head and I don't want to taint any of that, because I just know that if I reread it, I know that if I pick it up again, it's gonna read like a 2017 contemporary, and I know it's gonna disappoint me a lot. Like there's just no way that it can live up to everything that I've hyped it up to be in my head. You know, just based off of like the synopsis alone, it was very much in its time in 2017, and I was very surprised to find out that it was super popular on Book Talk, because even before I found out that people were like loving it and reading it again, like in my mind it was always going to be one of those books that's kind of like Divergent or The Hunger Games, where it's like it was great at the time but like we're kind of going to leave it in the past, because if you read it now it's like ooh, it just like feels chuggy. Yeah, so those are my current thoughts on this book, that I loved it 5 years ago and that I think it might be a little chuggy in present day, and that I was never going to reread it. And then I saw that the prequel was coming out, so naturally I bought They Both Die at the End on Amazon. So I'm going to reread it, and I'm going to take you with me. So it's currently 6 o'clock. Let's get started, I guess. Right now it's 7:30. I took about a half an hour break to go sit with my family by the fire pit and eat some s'mores, but I am 50 pages into this book, and I'm definitely getting a little bit of a chuggy vibe. I don't remember a lot of the plot because I read it so long ago, so even though obviously they both die at the end, clearly, and I do remember some of the major points, I don't necessarily remember most of it, so it's kind of going to be like I'm reading it for the first time, so that's kind of exciting. Right off the bat, my first impressions of the characters are that they seem kind of shallow. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously I'm 50 pages into the book, but I feel like it's a lot of telling and not showing so far. Like, you know, Mateo keeps telling us that he's like this shy loser kid, and Rufus keeps telling us like about how he's so sad, but like he's not acting sad, but he's telling us like, I have been sad and I am sad and I feel bad that my family's dead. That's just something that I've noticed a lot. It's a lot of telling and not showing. Yeah, if I have any other thoughts at any point, I'll come back, and if not, you'll see me when I finish it. Food break. My mom made me chicken. Okay, back to the book. You are so cute. Oh my god, I love you so much. Okay. I'm 200 pages in, and I was wrong. It's not Chugi. This is so good. I definitely have some criticisms about it, and I'll talk about those more when I finish it. But it's so much better than I thought it was gonna be. Oh, I know I'm gonna cry. Yeah, it's like 370 pages long, so I have like 170 pages left.
The time is 9:48 p.m.
Alexa says it's 9:48 p.m. Never mind. She says it's 9:48 p.m. So, yeah, let's keep. Okay, small update. I always hate insta-love. It's one of my least favorite tropes. Right next to miscommunication. I don't like insta-love. However, Adam Silvera does a very good job at making this insta-love not seem like an insta-love, you know? Like, it doesn't feel... I don't know, like, I feel like they've had more than a day, even though it's only been a few hours that they've known each other. And not in like a pacing way. Like, I'm really enjoying the pacing and like the different perspectives and all of that, but I just mean in like the development of their relationship. Like, it feels like this is like they have a really strong bond, that they've like there's been a good development in it. And I think especially with the deadline of them dying in, you know, however long, less than 24 hours, I think giving them that deadline, and you know, they're going to die, so they don't have a reason to not tell each other things or to hide anything. I think that really lowers the stakes, but in like a positive way. I know that sounds weird, but like lowering the stakes in a way that like there's no reason that they shouldn't be moving this fast, because that's my thing with insta love. It's always like, why? Like, why didn't you just make this story longer? But like in this case, it makes sense, and I think it like improves it a lot. Their like, you know, romance, the pacing of it, I think it works super well. I think he does a really good job of it. It's 11 o'clock. I'm on page 300. I have about 69 pages left. So I should finish this at like exactly midnight, because I read like a page a minute. So I'll update. This is like, oh my god. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. For them, it is 5:15 p.m., which means they only have like 7 hours left max to live. And I know how the book ends. Like, I remember it so vividly. I remember crying about it, but I don't want to. If I just stop here, then I can just pretend that they lived happily ever after. He's talking to his best friend Lydia, and he says, "Promise me you'll be okay." And she says, "It would be a huge lie." And he says, "Please lie to me." Honestly, the parts that are making me really sad aren't even the parts where like they're talking about their own deaths or like how they're never going to be able to have a future together. Like, the parts that are like really messing with me are the parts about like the people that they're leaving behind. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. Wow. Okay, I have some thoughts. First of all, it was sad. It was sad. Do I think TikTok and Instagram and whatever, like all the book people, do I think that they over exaggerate the level of sadness a little bit? Yes. Um, I don't know, maybe it's because I've read it before and I knew how it was gonna end, but it was just like not super sad. Like, I don't know, I was upset reading it. I did cry a little bit, but it was more in that way of like fun crying. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but I know what I'm talking about, and that's all that matters. First of all, I do think that we got a little bit better with the telling versus showing, like I was talking about in the beginning of the book. I still think that's an area of possible growth for Adam Silvera. As for my prediction about it feeling like a classic 2017 contemporary, yeah, that pretty much held up. If I were to describe this book in like one sentence, I would definitely say that if you looked at a picture of Adam Silvera, he definitely looks like he wrote this book. Do with that what you will. I didn't remember the main characters, and like a lot of the characters in the book. I didn't remember there being so much representation, which was amazing. Like, that was great. One of the main characters is Cuban and the other one is Puerto Rican, I believe. A lot of the characters in the book and like the side characters, like everyone, there's a lot of diversity, which was like so great. That was awesome. Like, genuinely, I don't know why I did not remember that. Yeah, I thought the characters were like super cute. I loved the way that their relationship developed. I think if you're trying to do something super insta-lovey, especially within like a 24-hour time frame, I think it can be extraordinarily difficult to pace that out correctly. But I think especially with the deadline of being like, hey, the reason they're falling in love in 24 hours is because like there's literally like they don't have anything left. So I think having that deadline made it a lot easier, but overall I do think the pacing of it was like really, really nice, very well done. Loved having all of the different perspectives and seeing these moments where Mateo and Rufus like had no idea that they just like escaped death by a second, just had like a butterfly effect on some random stranger in the street, and then you would see their perspective and it's like, oh my god, crazy. One thing that I do definitely want to say is I am really surprised that this book is so popular amongst bookstagrammers and booktubers, etc., etc., because I felt like it was super middle grade. I definitely didn't cry as hard as I did the first time I read it, but the first time I read it, I was 11, 12 years old, and I think that was like a good age for this book. I honestly, I can see why this book is enjoyable for people of many ages, especially, you know, it's a very comforting thing to read. Even though it's really dark, it has just amazing messages and like beautiful language in it, and it is really comforting. I think especially if, you know, you have lost somebody that you love, there's a lot of great things in here about mortality and grief and spending every day as fulfillingly as you can. I don't know if that's a word, forgive me. But a lot of the messages that it tries to get across are done very well, and I think were like very solid. For people who are looking for more representation in books, this was great. Obviously, we have like a gay pairing as our main characters. One of them is bisexual, the other one likes men in some capacity. Lots of POC like throughout the entire book, both of the main characters, a lot of the friends and the side characters, etc. So I can understand from those aspects why this would be enjoyable, but from an actual storytelling standpoint, this felt really young to me. And I think a big part of that is that this book is really obvious in what it's trying to do, especially within Mateo and Rufus's first 2 or 3 chapters. It's very clear that the point of this book, or a large point of this book, is don't be afraid to live your life and go out there and do it, and life is worth living even though you're gonna make mistakes, and don't care about what other people do, you know, all of that whole thing. It felt very self-helpy in the beginning, very it felt like it was attempting to be really inspirational in the beginning, which for me reading it now, I feel like I'm kind of past all that and I'm older, and I genuinely believe that Adam Silvera wrote this with like the most amazing intentions. But, you know, reading a book where it's just like, be happy and live your best life, like it just feels, I don't know, not as emotional as I feel like it was supposed to be for me. But I feel like if I was younger, and well, I know for me when I was younger, because I read it before, was like at that point in my life, you know, being younger and more terrified of life and sad and lonely, this book was just like perfect. And I couldn't necessarily see so like straightforward, like I didn't feel like that message was being shoved down my throat when I was younger, but it definitely would have still been able to like been like implanted into my mind. So I think reading this as like an older reader, it is extraordinarily obvious what the book is trying to do, and I feel like that kind of ruined it for me a little bit. But as like a middle school, elementary school, I read it in, oh my god, I was in elementary school, but I feel like it's probably more of a middle school read. Like that kind of age, I think this could be like a really amazing and helpful book. And for that age group, I think this book accomplished its goals really, really well. But like the actual plot points, I loved. I loved the story development. I loved the characters. They were all really sweet. In the beginning, like I said, it was a lot of telling and not showing, and they did feel really two-dimensional. But as we went on, like especially with Rufus, I felt like there was a lot more depth to the characters, which was nice. I really liked them. They didn't feel like super super fleshed out. Like I think we could have gone a little bit further, but it definitely improved from the beginning of the book. The second half of the book was so much better than the first half. In terms of making me cry, I give this book like 2.5 stars, and overall rating, I feel kind of bad giving it a 3.5. But I feel like that's kind of where I stand with it. If you are a younger reader, if you're like in middle school or maybe elementary school, I don't know, for like that age group, 5 stars, perfect, wonderful read. Like this book should be heavily stocked in like every middle school library. But for like, you know, the older readers, which I know is like most of my viewers, 3.5 stars. That concludes my 29th book of this year. I really enjoyed that, and maybe if everyone enjoys watching this video, then I will post one when I get to read the prequel in October. And other than that, like this video, comment under this video, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I'll see you all later, I guess. Happy reading.